So we're here with Paolo Renati, who just spoke at the conference for New Paradigm in Physics.
Yeah.
Paolo, I'm curious, if you had to define a central question which has defined the trajectory of your work, what would that question be?
The trajectory of my work is a deep unification that not only concerns disciplines like, let's say, physics or and spirituality and so on, but is a deep unification that first of all concerns the knowledge position, the human position on existence, on knowledge in itself, on perceiving a reality and itself that are not two things. So what I understood is that all the divisions that are present because there is a division, a method that divides inside our position to knowledge.
And do you did you arrive on this planet at this time for a specific purpose, do you feel?
I think that I achieved a good target. It's not, the work is not ended, but I'm writing in a book that is made of 3 volumes, my work that passes from fundamentals on physics through medicine and biology up to psychology, society, economics, because what I'm searching for is a new paradigm of society. What I felt is that our diseases, our problems in humankind, that concerns from pollution to energy waste to diseases, health, etc., are all related to the science problem, in the sense that the science, the epistemological problem is the society problem. If we change the categories and the criteria of science and knowledge, we can change the whole humankind.
So do you think story, the way science has created story around our existence, is part of the problem that we're facing right now?
Sorry, repeat the question.
So the idea of story. A story,
okay.
So science has given us a story or an explanation that's parametered in a very specific way.
Yes.
Do you think that's part of what has to shift now?
Yes.
Is that fundamental?
Yes, absolutely. Because I can make just an example. Today. We consider scientific a study when it contains models and empirical proofs, for example. But the problem, let's say, for example, genetically modified organisms, for example, are dangerous or not? A question. Until now, how they have been studied? Only considering a short-range interaction inside, for example, the body, but we are not considering what means insert new pieces of genomic pieces inside organism that is related to all and to a whole ecosystem, and this ecosystem is related to the whole Gaia, all the planet Earth. So the problem is that we are slaves of approximation. In a technological sense, it is good, but we cannot effort it such a modality if we want really to know what is true and what is not true. So we have to learn to expand our view to more subtle variables. So the point of the relationships is a key point, in the sense when science has to study something, has to create an artificial system that has to be simplified, because you must have a finite number of variables that has to be controlled. But okay, but if you do that without being aware of it, you don't recognize that your results are not so extendable to reality.
So that doesn't represent reality. It's missing elements.
Yes, exactly. Like to analyze the cells in vitro and suppose the dynamics that they produce there are extrapolable, are considerable, identical where they are in vivo.
So is this because we're extracting them from the relationships that they're usually in?
Mainstream scientists would say, oh, but can you provide me some measurements that can demonstrate that cells in vivo are different from cells in vitro? And the only answer that I can provide and I can give is no, because there is not something measurable. What I'm speaking about, it's the relation. It's a correlation. For example, cells assume behaviors that depends on the holographic and phase locking setting that they are experiencing, and this is not something that you can measure. You can only seize it. You can only understand it when it happens.
So do you think this?
We have to extend science to the non-measurable also.
Okay, so right now this reality is locked away from science on some level because of the inability to study the unseen aspect.
Yes.
And do you
the not immediately seeable aspect.
But I mean, looking at cause and effect, we're not living in a universe that's based on just cause and effect.
Yes, science supposes that there is only cause and effect dynamics, but actually you have a more circular causality. You are a sort of synchronicity, in the sense that exactly for the fact that vacuum exists, and in vacuum, interaction mediated by vacuum are non-local interaction, like entanglement. You cannot afford to forget about all these subtle variables and still remain in the conception that only cause-effect law is valid. It's not so simple. There is something more.
So Paolo, in your day-to-day life, how does this knowledge that you're living and studying, how does that affect how you move through the world? What does that feel like to be you, living in the context of that knowledge?
The first attitude that starts from such an awareness is a deep and not over-structured empathy, in the sense that you can perceive deeply, not with mind, but you can perceive deeply that everything permeates you, and you permeates everything, but not on a mystical aspect. It's something really physical, and you can also be. There are a lot of spiritual people that are habited to see and to find meanings in events, happenings, and okay. That's good, okay. We have to remember that meaning is not an invariant, in the sense that meaning is something that it's for you. It's fantastic that you can read that happenings, that event in that sense, okay. But before giving a meaning, you have to understand that the correlation rules. The correlation is the real queen of reality. And when I say that chance doesn't exist, is intended that not because universe has a will and a volunty that want to do something, or no, in the sense that everything is immediately correlated, is self-consistent. So if you look at ants, no, in the ground, you can look at ants and you say, oh, they are random moving. But there is nothing random. You believe that in random because you have not the tools to describe, to predict their evolution. But there is nothing that is random. The same in reality. Nothing is random because nothing can be separated from everything, from anything else.
So, are you speaking about synchronicity then?
Also, yes, of course.
So, synchronicity as opposed to chance.
Yeah, yes, synchronicity is opposed to chance, physically speaking, no? In the sense that I want to stay outside of the mystical biasing or meanings biasing, because this depends on who you are, what do you think, and so on. But if we stay a level lower, we can just perceive that synchronicity is true because of self-consistency of reality. That is an holographic connection where everything, every part, every aspect is immediately correlated.
So wouldn't synchronicity then be the aspect of relationship between random events,
yes.
Apparently random events?
Yes, exactly. The relationships that of which reality is constituted is, in a certain sense, this synchronicity.
So you spoke about this deep and non-bordered empathy. Do you believe that came before your trajectory of research or as a result of your trajectory of research?
It's a very nice question. I think that I can tell you that I started this research because I felt bad. I felt bad in a world where people were not only people, but you know, we are individuals that are constrained and shaken by a lot of variables. Our social system, it's so prevaricating, it's so stealing, it's so compressive, you know. I felt this great disease and I wanted to find a way to offer a strategy, a new perspective that was not based on opinion, but on objectivity, in the sense that on physical, on an undisputable aspect. Mm-hmm. That's why I started from physics. You know that I'm perfectly aware that objectivity, aseptically speaking, like science usually does, is not real. In the sense that, but I'm speaking about objectivity in the sense that about something that is before, previous, or to cultures, to mind setting, you know, physics, because in this perspective you can engender also some ethics that are not depending on culture, on religion, on history. You really can reach an autopoietic, a self-poietic ethics, where made of awareness, where the can, the must, and the want are perfectly coinciding. And this state is the coherence. You can reach a sort of phase switch where human beings in communion with all the ecosystem of Earth, with all nature, if learn to pay attention to the non-measurable, to this subtle correlation, to the fact that everything is related to everything else, and immediately a great care is produced, a care attitude in everybody. The empathy that I was speaking about. This empathy is something so deep that produces a change in your way of relation with other people, in the stimuli, how you receive the stimuli, how you produce your responses. And what I'm aiming to is an autopoietic society where we have transcended all the cultural polarization that create divisions and blah blah, because we have in a deep communion with our nature, with our physics.
So how do you see your work intersecting with a population to stimulate that kind of change?
How can stimulate people to do this change?
So your work is speaking to the creation of that kind of change.
Yes, my work, for example, I refer to my book just not to make publicity that is not yet published, but is still in work. Just because I'm explaining, it's a path that's starting from showing which are the methodological problems, like I did before, in the paramount tool that we have for decodifying reality, that is science. Starting from the showing methodological problems, if you change the methods, you change the answer. Nature, in dependence on how you are asking, replies. No? So starting from this, you can also achieve a complete new vision about medicine, biology, and on this you can change also all the aspect of how the way doing agriculture, energy management, and education, pedagogy, scholarship. Everything changes. I described step by step in my work all the passages, all step by step. What is the evolution, the switch? Which is the switch to do?
Paolo,
sorry for my bad English.
No, you're fine. But do you know Dominor? Do you know Dominor?
I heard about Dominor almost 3 years ago. A friend of mine that sometimes went to Dominor, and not exactly in the sense that I think that is a very special situation actually. I don't know if Dominor is superposable. I don't know to say. I don't know if my vision is acceptable by Dominor people, because for what I knew, Dominorian people still believe in divine creatures and metaphysical things, when instead I'm trying to make understand people that there is no metaphysics, but everything is part of one whole reality. I don't know if Dominor...
I don't think that's a correct perception necessarily. In Dominor, there's a deep study of esoteric physics.
Yes.
The interesting thing about esoteric physics right now is that physics is now overlapping esoteric physics. So many of the same concepts that have been elaborated in esoteric physics are now being spoken about.
Maybe it could be interesting.
I think it could be an interesting study, but because what you're speaking about, the kind of shift that you're speaking about, also has to happen in relationship.
Yeah. of course.
And so we don't, you know, when we're living individually, moving through the world, we're engaged in a certain level of relationship.
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
when we're actually living with, we live communally. We live with 20 adults in our house. So now suddenly the level of relationship that you're engaged in every day
Yeah.
forces you to have a worldview shift, because you can't live with others
No, yes.
without entering that deep level of empathy on a daily basis.
Yes.
So I hear what you're describing, and I see in some ways the way we're living right now,
Yes, I think,
mirrored in that.
Yes, I think that maybe for above all for the social aspect, you are very in this direction, in the sense you are very overlappable with
your
with
vision.
my vision. Yes, I think so. I actually maybe I could be pretty curious to.
You should come visit. Come
yes,
visit.
to visit you and.
What were you like as a child? What, as a child, did this work that you're engaged in, was there a seed that was planted in your childhood that took you in this direction?
If my work was planted in my childhood, no. In the sense that it was a great mission that started at the age of 20, 25, 26.
What was the catalyst that what was the catalyst that put you on this mission? What was the catalyst? What was the key that moved you into position to be on this mission?
Sufferance.
Suffering.
Yeah. Sufferance, as I was saying you, in this sense, Buddhists are right when say that sufferance provide consciousness, awareness, in the sense that you have, when you are suffering, when you have a problem, you have the motor to make a step, to make an evolution. You have a driving force that makes you move. Sorry, and after university, I realized that my life in this system, in the social and work system, would have been so sad.
So I have a question for you in that, because I think that you're reflecting the experience of many people right now.
I hope on one side.
But at the same time, I think that many people become immobilized by that suffering.
Because a lot of people are neither aware of their sufferings.
So this was a level of self-awareness that was the motivation. So not just the suffering, but the self-awareness.
Yes, of course. Sufferance obviously was a sort of motor, but the ground was actually a self-awareness. Yes. Since I was a child, I was very subtle and speculative and curious and full of questions. My childhood was difficult in the sense I had difficulty to relate with my co-age
your friends.
Yes, and also the experience of school was difficult because every one of us, I think that now can understand that the way we do education in school, scholarship is exactly the opposite to do in order to promote the self-awareness and interdisciplinarity, lateral thinking, and so on. After university, I felt that my life would have been very, very difficult because, for example, I hate to be constrained inside the time schedule and place. To work you have to be here, you have to stay here from this time to this hour, to that. But what's the matter? You can give me what I have to do, and I do that. But there is no trust in people. No, we have to control people because people otherwise cheat and all this. For me, was completely unreasonable categories, unreasonable dynamics, and I tried to create a theoretical basis to demonstrate that I'm right. Let's say that you can do as I'm proposing. You know, that you have the possibility to do the things in another ways, that it's much more respectful of the individual, of his exigencies, of the necessities.
But you did so not just based on your opinion.
Exactly.
You had to back it up with something that was empirical.
Yes, because in this way we can speak to the system structures, policy, economics, medical organization. I don't know to say in English, but the sanity, the health minister. Let's say school, instruction and education. If you cannot provide, let's say, objective and consistent, undisputable contents, you are not considered, in the sense that it's your opinion, it's a good dream, they say, and I say, oh no, heaven can be here, and it depends only on us. If we change our setting, we change our interaction. It's a bottom-up approach. It's an emergent property. If you continue to create a society where people are in a competitive economy, violence, inequality, money, the problem of the money is enormous, no? Because every time that you earn money is because someone has loosened the same sum. So, for example, if you change the setting, you change also the nature. There is everybody is so bounded to but it's human nature. Man is bad inside. No, it's completely wrong, because man becomes something in relation to his setting. We change the setting, we change the output.
I think that's a great place to conclude. Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to having be interviewed by you.
Oh no, it's really a pleasure. No, and I hope you'll come visit.
Yes, I do. I live in Liguria. It's not so far from Damanhur.
Yeah.
Damanhur is northern than Torino.
It's 40 minutes north of Torino.
Okay, yes. Yeah. Okay, no, it's feasible. I will maybe when the season is better.
It's going to be 20 degrees in Damanhur on Monday.
Yes.
So.
Very, it will be a pleasure.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.